ददाति च पदं वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरुं श्रीयुतापदकमलं श्रीगुरुवैष्णवांशि श्रीरूपां साग्रजातां सहगना रघुनाथां तं तावदेकं सावधूतं परिजनं सहितं कृष्णचैतन्यदेवं श्रीराधा कृष्ण पादां सहगना ललिता श्रीविशाखान्वितां नमो विष्णुपादां कृष्णपृष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्तस्वामिते नमः नमस्ते सरस्वती देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी भाष्यादितारिणे नमो महावदन्याय कृष्ण प्रेमतनाय कृष्णाय कृष्ण चैतन्य नाम्ने गार्गिसे नमः हे कृष्णा करुणा सिंधु दीनबन्धो जगत्पते गोपेश गोपिकान्त राधा कान्त तप्त कांचन गौरांगी श्रीराधे वृंदावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि प्रिये वाञ्छाकल्पतरुश्च कृपा सिन्धुदेव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे 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 राम 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 हरे। हरे कृष्ण। So yesterday we could discuss text number 28 and now we continue with further discussion from text number 29. So Krishna spoke about knowledge, object of knowledge, and the knower in three modes of materialism. So now we have further discussion from text number 29. I am using my mobile internet. Temple internet is not working. So if some sound problem comes, you can kindly inform me. Okay, Adarsh?
Yes, Prabhuji.
बुद्धिर्भेदं धृतेश्चैव गुणतस्त्रिविधं शृणु प्रोच्यमानम् अशेषेण पृथक्त्वेन धनञ्जय. Somebody can read translation.
O winner of wealth, now please listen as I tell you in detail of the different kinds of understanding and determination according to the three modes of material nature.
So he's saying, "Oh, winner of wealth, now please listen." So now Krishna will speak about uh, different kinds of understanding and determination as per three modes of material nature. So determination and understanding. Determination and understanding. Understanding is buddhehe, that is intelligence. And then dhriti, dhriti is determination. So Krishna will speak about these two aspects, buddhehe and dhriti, as per three modes of material nature. This understanding is in the mode of goodness. What is to be done, what is not to be done, what is to be feared, what is not to be feared, what is binding and what is liberating. So previous to this, we discussed about knowledge. So that knowledge is general knowledge, and here this understanding or buddhi or intelligence is referring to before action, the kind of understanding one should have. That's why here it is mentioned that that understanding by which one knows what should be done, what should not be done, what should be feared, what should not be feared, what is binding, what is liberating, that is in the mode of goodness. So we see, especially in today's world, most of the people they don't have this understanding. What is to be done, what is not to be done, what is to be feared, what is not to be feared, and what is binding and what is liberating. So here, Sila Baldev Bhushan is very nicely explaining this. So he's saying that intelligence which knows what to do, that means dharma, and what not, that is adharma. So that intelligence which can comprehend this is dharma, this is not dharma, and then which knows that niskarma, nis, niskam karma should be performed and sakam karma should not be performed. Karya karye, which knows fear of doing what is not mentioned in the scripture and knows no fear of doing what is prescribed in the scripture, which knows the nature of samsara bandham and what destroys it moksha, that intelligence is in the mode of goodness. So he knows what is dharma, he knows what is adharma. He knows that one should do niskam karma and one should not do sakam karma. He knows if I do something which is mentioned in the scripture, then that is good, and I should not do what is not mentioned in the scripture. And also, he knows the nature of samsara, which is binding, and he knows how to stop it or how to destroy it. That is moksha. So we see practical in today's world, people they don't have this understanding. In fact, people are having more understanding in mode of passion or ignorance, but hardly we find people having understanding in mode of goodness, where they have this maturity to understand about dharma, adharma, and this maturity to understand this is binding, this is not binding. So when someone has, that means that understanding is in mode of goodness. Then now Krishna will talk about the understanding in mode of passion. यया धर्मम् अधर्मं च कार्यं च कार्यम् एव च यथावत् प्रजानाति बुद्धिः स पार्थराजसी. That's something.
O son of Pritha, that understanding which cannot distinguish between religion and irreligion, between action that should be done and action that should not be done, is in the mode of passion.
So in the mode of passion, only driving force is the fruitive aspect. Only driving force is what I will get to enjoy. So in the ambition or in the craving to have something to enjoy, he does not care whether it is dharma or adharma. He does not care whether this action should be done or should not be done. So that is understanding in the mode of passion, where the bhoga, the enjoyment, is the prime motivator. So such people, they don't care about other things. Especially we find in today's world, most of the people, they are in this category where they don't mind doing dharma or adharma. They don't mind doing action which should not be done. And they are more concerned about their material success, or they are more concerned about money and get beautiful, the understanding in mode of ignorance. Adharmam dharmam iti ya manyate damas smrtah sarvarthan vipritam cha buddhi sa partha tamasi.
That understanding which considers irreligion of illusion and darkness and strives always in the wrong direction.
So here he is saying this is too much where he considers adharma is dharma and dharma is adharma under illusion and darkness, and he is heading in wrong direction. That is intelligence in mode of thinking. Sometimes we see some terrorist groups, they kind of brainwash from very starting, and they give this kind of understanding or concept that if you kill on our behalf, then you will be liberated, you will get heaven, you will get Jannah. Although they engage them in adharmic activities, but they portray that adharma as if that is dharma. And that's why we see many terrorist group having small children, then brainwashing them, and then they become terrorists. And they have this idea that when we are doing these terrorist activities, we are actually coming closer to God, and actually we are performing dharmic activity. So that's why we see this is understanding in mode of ignorance, where dharma is seen as dharma and dharma is seen as adharma. Srila Prabhupada is saying intelligence in the mode of ignorance is always working the opposite of the way it should. It accepts the religion which are not actually religion and reject actual religion. Like this. Man in ignorance understand a great soul to be common man and accept a common man to be great soul. In Kaliga, we'll find most of the people either are in mode of passion or in the mode of ignorance. Nowadays, we see people, they so much glorify, appreciate uh, Bollywood actors or cricketers or politicians, but they may not so much appreciate genuine sadhus, genuine devotees of the Lord. Whereas in the Vedic time, we see that they would not appreciate uh, drama performers, or they would not appreciate such material skilled people, but they would appreciate genuine devotees of the Lord, knowing well that how devotees of the Lord are very dear to Krishna. But then this is how in ignorance opposite happens. They think truth to be untruth and accept untruth as truth. And in all activity, they simply take the wrong path. Therefore, their intelligence is in the mode of ignorance. So now, after describing understanding or buddhi as per three modes of material nature, now Krishna will describe about dhriti, that is determination. Dhityaya dharayate manah pranendriya priya yogena ve vicharenya dhriti sapartha satviki. Please read.
O son of Pritha, the determination which is unbreakable, which is sustained with steadfastness by yoga practice, and which thus controls the activities of the mind, life, and senses, is determination in the mode of goodness.
Yeah, so see, among all three modes, only in mode of goodness determination is unbreakable. A person is very steady when he is in mode of goodness. So that determination which is unbreakable, which is sustained with steadfastness by yoga practice, which controls the activities of the mind, life, and senses, is determination in the mode of goodness. And this determination is unbreakable. And how it is coming? Because of his yoga practice, because of his spirituality. Srila Prabhupada writes in the purport, one who is steadily fixed in the supreme soul with determination, concerning one's mind, life, and sensory activities on the supreme, engages in Krishna consciousness. That sort of determination is in the mode of goodness. The word avivicharena is very significant. It indicates the person who is engaged in Krishna consciousness are never deviated by any other activity. So because he is so much fixed in his practice of spirituality, That's why he has this sort of determination, which is unbreakable determination, which most steadfast. So a person, no matter what happens, he is not distracted or affected or carried away by his practices, yoga practices. So when someone has this determination in the mode of goodness, then he's very and most steadfast. And Krishna speaks about determination in mode of passion. यया तु धर्म कामार्थं नित्याधार्यते अर्जुनम् संगेन फलाकांक्षी धृति स पार्थ राजसी.
But that determination by which one holds fast to fruitive result in religion, economic development, and sense gratification is of the nature of passion, O Arjun.
So that determination which is there till when? Till he is getting result in dharma, artha and kama is the nature of the mode of passion. So in mode of goodness, he is having unbreakable determination in all situations, whether he gets success or failure, whether he gets some fruit or not. Whereas the determination in mode of passion is also there. But that determination is still when a person is getting result in dharma, artha and kama. The person in mode of passion, when he sees that no result is coming, then he will not have determination to continue the activity. Whereas a person in mode of goodness, irrespective of the result, will continue his activity, and that is the difference between the two. So this is determination in mode of passion, which is fueled by the result in the activity. When the activity is bringing the result, he will have determination, and it will increase also. But when there are no results, then the determination will become slackened. So this is the determination which one has as per the fruit in dharma, artha and kama. And generally this determination is directed towards dharma, artha and kama, not for liberation. So any person who is always desirous of fruitive result in dharma, kama, artha, and whose mind, life, and senses are thus engaged is in the mode of passion. So that's why we see these people, they work very hard, but when the result does not come, then they give up the activity itself. So that is how is the determination in mode of passion. Then is determination in mode of ignorance. Yaya swapnam bhayam sokam visadam madam evacham na vimunchanti durmedha dharti sapatha tamasi. Somebody repeat.
And that determination which cannot go beyond dreaming, fearfulness, lamentation, moroseness, and illusion, such unintelligent determination, O son of Pritha, is in the mode of darkness.
So he is saying, and that determination which cannot go beyond a dreaming. Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur gives example that how once there was a person and he was a Kumar pot maker. So he had made a pot using mud and then he slept. And then he started thinking, no, I have made such a nice pot now. Now I will go and sell this pot, I'll get some money, and then with that money I will produce few more pots, and then I'll sell them also, and then I'll get more money, and then I will make more pots, then I will sell more, then soon I will have so much money, I'll become so successful in this business. And then after having so much money, then I'll have a very huge house, then I'll have a huge car, and then I will marry a very beautiful girl. And then I will tell to that girl that please make tea for me. And if she says, no, I cannot make tea, then I will hit very hard to the lady. So the only pot which was made, which was kept towards his leg side, so that pot also got broken. So this is a determination which cannot go beyond dreaming. And then fearfulness, lamentation, moroseness, and illusion. So person in mode of ignorance is too much affected by all this. And if you ask him that, Prabhu, please do this, he is always fearful. Will I be successful? What I will get? Will I be able to do it? What all concerns may come? So he'll be very negative. He'll be haunted by fear. So he cannot start only activity many times. Or lamentation. If he is doing any activity and then difficulties come, then he'll be lamenting, मैं कर रहा था, इन्होंने ऐसा किया, इन्होंने ऐसा किया, because of him this happened, because of that this happened. So he'll be lamenting. Instead of continuing the activity, instead of struggling and going ahead, he'll be lamenting, मैं तो पढ़ रहा था लेकिन पेपर हार्ड आ गया, मैं फेल हो गया, मैं क्या करूँ इसमें, मैंने क्या किया. Instead of improving his studies, he will be lamenting like this. And then moroseness, because he'll be morose, why I'm doing what I am doing, why to do, because either he has fruitive intention, nor he has mode of goodness. And then illusion, he'll be an illusion like this. Sometimes we see some person in ignorance, they don't do materially also, they are not very focused. And sometimes we see that they don't study nicely, they don't work nicely, and finally the whole burden comes on the family, and he is very careless. He is not knowing what he is doing and what it will bring in the future. So this is the determination in mode of ignorance. With the question, he says, that determination is in the mode of ignorance by which the fool engages his senses, mind, and pranas in action for sense objects, which are the causes of sleep, fear, lamentation, depression, and arrogance arising from sense enjoyment. So this is Srila Baldev Vidya question saying that a person, he will engage his sense, mind, and prana in those sense objects. Like he will eat more. So he'll engage his senses in those sense objects which will bring more sleep. So he'll eat more. Or more fear, he may steal or he may do certain things without asking proper authority. So fear. And then lamentation. He will do certain things in an unplanned way. And then he will not have a result or he will have some problem. Then he will be shoka. And then depression. He will not do anything and he'll keep thinking and be in depression. Why they are doing so much, I'm not able to do anything, I'm not able to do anything, they are doing so much. So like that, he'll be always in depression. And then arrogance. He will have arrogance where he will find fault in others and he will think that I was not properly treated. He will think that, I was not properly given opportunity. So he'll have that kind of arrogance for others. So this is the determination in mode of ignorance. So now Krishna spoke about determination in three modes, and Krishna spoke about buddhi or intelligence in three modes. So now Krishna will speak about happiness in three modes. Sukham tu idanim trividham shinu me bharatarshava abhyasad ramate yatra dukhantam cha nigacchati. Yeah, somebody can read.
O best of the Bharatas, now please hear from me about the three kinds of happiness by which the conditioned souls enjoys, and by which he sometimes comes to the end of all distress.
So now Lord is saying that I'll explain you about three kinds of happiness. So Sukham tu idanim trividam shunu me bharata sabaha. So this first half of this verse is where Krishna is saying that Sukham tu idanim trividam, that I will talk about three kinds of happiness. Trividam Sukham. Shunu me Bhagavah, please hear now. So this is first part. Now from here, the second part, he actually starts speaking about happiness in mode of goodness. Abhyasad ramate yatra dukkhantam cha nigacchati. So the second half of this verse and next verse, they talk about happiness in mode of goodness. So abhyasad ramate yatra. Abhyasad means practice. And ramate means one who enjoys. So one who practices very nicely, dukkhantam cha nigacchati, he will have end of all distance. So this verse is like that. The first half of this verse is talking about that Krishna will speak about three kinds of happiness. And the second half of this verse starts speaking about happiness in mode of goodness. So the happiness in mode of goodness will come by abhyasada, by practice. And what will happen by this happiness? It will end the distress. And then next verse, Krishna will continue the happiness in mode of goodness. Yattadagre visham eva praname mritopamam tat sukham satvikam proktam atma buddhi prasadajam. Yeah, please read.
That which in the beginning may be just like poison, but at the end is just like nectar, and which awakens one to self-realization, is said to be happiness in the mode of goodness.
Yeah, so this verse and next verse, they are very important verse for all of us to understand. See, one of the reason why time and again our mind drags us to sense object or sense gratification is by giving us a hope of happiness. Srila Prabhupada writes in one purport of Bhagavad Gita, this when senses they interact with the sense object, some happiness we get. And the so-called happiness is the eternal enemy of the sense enjoyment, like Prabhupada says. Why we fall back again and again to sense gratification? Because that small happiness which we received before is magnified again by the mind, and then we are dragged back to the sense gratification. But if we remember this verse and the next verse, then we can understand that when I practice spiritual life, when I do certain spiritual thing, they may appear very troublesome. It's like a poison in the beginning. But in the end, it is like a nectar. It will awaken me to self-realization. Prabhupada also is saying same thing. That in self-realization, one has to follow so many rules and regulations to control the mind and senses, to concentrate the mind on the self. They are very difficult, bitter like poison. But if one successfully follows, then he can come to the transcendental position. And he begins to drink real nectar and he enjoys life. So a devotee, he should have a realistic understanding that initially as a sadhaka, he will not get taste in spiritual life. Initially as a sadhaka, he may not enjoy spiritual life. It may appear like a poison in the beginning, but if he continues, and how he can continue? By having faith in the scriptures, by having faith in the Guru. Like when a person who is diseased, if he goes to the hospital and then he meets a doctor who diagnoses his body, and then the doctor gives him medication. And now those medicines are very bitter, and doctor tells him you have to eat this time, this particular medicine, and this time, this particular medicine, and continue this for 1 month. So although while eating those medicines, the taste is bitter, but still we continue with faith on the doctor that this medicine will cure him. Doctor has told I should follow this and then only I'll be free from diseased situation. Same way, when we take up to spiritual life, getting up early in the morning is not easy. Always, mind sometimes it becomes very unhappy, and especially when it is winter time and we are taking rest in a blanket. But then still we get up. That is a medicine for us. Why? Because Srila Prabhupada has told us. We chant 16 rounds, we read scriptures, we hear the classes. Why? Because Srila Prabhupada has told us. If we do this, then what will happen is we will come out of our diseased condition. We will become cured. But if you become too affected by the bitterness of the medicine, अरे इतना bitter है, इतना दिक्कत हो रहा है सुबह उठने में, It's so difficult to chant 16 rounds. It's so difficult to practice spirituality. Then what happens? We'll never be cured. We'll remain in a diseased situation, diseased existence. Like this. So that is how the happiness in mode of goodness is. Initially, it may not appear, but eventually it will appear. And this happiness is different. This happiness is not same as the happiness one gets by interaction with a sense object. So that is explained by Srila Vishwanath Thakur. So he's saying, now sattvic happiness is described in 1.5 verse. That means the second half of the first verse and this full verse. Only by constant practice, abhyasat, does such a person enjoy. So this happiness, if you want this happiness of mode of goodness, how it can come? By constant practice, abhyasat, by regularly taking the bitter medicine, by not stopping the medicine, then only there is a possibility of experiencing this happiness later. So only by the constant practice, abhyasat, does such a person enjoy. This means that it is not like happiness derived from sense object. This is a difference. So this is not happiness which is derived from sense object which gives a immediate short-term pleasure. Enjoying in that happiness, the person crosses over the suffering of samsara. This happiness which we get by constant abhyasa is such that one can cross over the suffering of samsara, dukkhantam nigachanti. In the beginning, sattvic happiness is like poison, since restraining the senses and the mind causes suffering. So in the beginning, sattvic happiness is like poison. Why? Because we have to restrain mind, we have to control mind, we have to restrain senses. So then there is suffering. Then Baldev Vidyabhushan also says, the Lord next promises to tell about the three types of happiness in the first half the verse. Why now Krishna brought this topic of happiness? Because the goal of all action eventually is happiness. So he describes the happiness in the mode of goodness in 1.5 verse, starting with abhyasata ramate. So that happiness in which there is satisfaction arising from repeated practice, not a sudden appearance of satisfaction as in contact with sense object. तो ये happiness अलग है. जो मटेरियल हैप्पीनेस है वो कैसे आती है? तुरंत सडन आती है, बहुत कम टाइम के लिए आती है. When the senses they interact with the sense object. बट ये हैप्पीनेस कैसे आती है? ये रिपीटेड जो हम प्रैक्टिस करते हैं उसमें हैप्पीनेस आ जाती है. तो जो हम रोज जप कर रहे हैं, रोज भागवतम श्रवण कर रहे हैं, जो रोज शास्त्र अध्ययन कर रहे हैं, उसमें हैप्पीनेस आने लग जाएगा. और कैसे आएगा? जब हम कांस्टेंट प्रैक्टिस करेंगे, डेली मेडिसिन को खाएंगे, डेली करेंगे. कैसे? गुरु पे विश्वास रखकर, शास्त्रों पे विश्वास रखकर. और ये हैप्पीनेस का विशेषता क्या है? दुखंतम निगच्छन्ति. ये जो हैप्पीनेस है ये आपको जो संसार है उससे को क्रॉस करा देगी. बोलेंगे ये तो बहुत अच्छा है. बोलेंगे लेकिन थोड़ा सा कठिनाई. बोले क्या कठिनाई है? इन द बिगिनिंग इट विल अपीयर लाइक अ पॉइजन. जब शुरू में हम प्रैक्टिस करेंगे तो शुरू में बहुत कठिनाई होगी. It will appear like a poison filled with lots of suffering because of difficulty in controlling the mind. Because of Atma separate from the body has not yet manifested itself. तो शुरू में बहुत दिक्कत होगा. Why? Because of difficulty in dealing with mind and senses. क्यों? क्योंकि अभी हम जो है सेल्फ रियलाइज्ड नहीं हुए. अभी हम सोल को बॉडी से डिफरेंट नहीं देख पा रहे, नहीं समझ पा रहे. But later, as we understand and we go closer to purification and self-realization, this same happiness will appear like sweet falling of streams of nectar with attainment of samadhi parinami. Just imagine currently all the suffering which we face in relation to body, in relation to mind, in relation to senses. Mainly we face because of bodily consciousness, because of identifying with material mind, material senses, material body. Now just imagine a person who is self-realized. Imagine a person who had understood that I am not his body, I am his soul. Then what kind of happiness he must be experiencing? And that is actual happiness, that is genuine happiness. As it is mentioned about material happiness, it comes very fast at the first interaction of senses with sense object, but then it disappears also very fast. Whenever we have any material happiness, it comes fast and disappears fast. Whereas when we talk about this actual happiness, it comes by gradual purification and then it stays forever. So when Srila Prabhupada saw that how hippies in the West, they had a kind of a slogan that stay high. They would take LSD drugs and they would assume and think that stay high. Then Srila Prabhupada told them, you practice this process of Krishna consciousness. And Prabhupada wrote an article, stay high forever. So now you see, it is up to us. One is we keep getting illusioned and we keep running behind these temporary, fast disappearing happiness, which we get by interaction with the sense object, which will never make us truly happy and which will keep us binding. Another is we pay the price of purification by taking the bitter medicine of spiritual practices. And we continue them so that we are purified and eventually we can experience the unending ocean of real happiness. So that's why this verse and next verse, they are very important for we sadhaka to understand. Sometimes we may get affected. Generally what happens, in the beginning stage also we expect happiness from spiritual practices. But then in the beginning, being in the diseased condition, we will not get happiness. Even about chanting the holy names of the Lord, Sri Rupa Goswami says that chanting holy names of the Lord is like a sugar candy juice. But because we are diseased and we are chanting, it will appear bitter. But what is the solution? Having faith in the Guru and the scriptures, you continue. Same juice which is appearing bitter now, same sugar candy which is appearing bitter now, soon by your constant practice and the mercy of the Lord, it will appear like a nectar because it is nectar. Problem is not in the sugar candy, problem is in me because I am diseased today. But when I am purified by the process, then I will realize, my Lord, it is so sweet and I can't give up just drinking it. So that is how one will have. So as a devotee, we should have a realistic understanding about happiness, which we will get eventually by our spiritual practices. And we should not get illusioned by the temporary flickering, short-term material happiness. Because we have to pay the heavy price. We will go here for short-term flickering material happiness. First thing is we actually will not get real happiness. Second thing is it is binding in nature. Whereas on the other hand, it may appear initially troublesome, but then it is liberating. It is actually awarding real happiness. And when we stay in association of devotees, then this struggle also becomes sweet. When we stay in association of devotees, then to get up early, to chant 16 rounds, to read Srimad Bhagavatam, to practice spirituality becomes very sweet. So even the struggle becomes very sweet. That is the beauty of practicing in association of devotees. So now Krishna will talk about happiness in mode of action. Vishendriya samiyoga yattad agre mitopamam pariname visham eva tat sukham rajasam smritam. Somebody can read.
That happiness which is derived from the contact of the senses with their objects and which appears like nectar at the first, but poison at the end, is said to be of the nature of passion.
Yeah. So the nature of this happiness is one gets very quickly, but it is very short term. It is quickly it disappears also. And this happiness one gets, this is a material happiness which we get by interaction of senses with its sense object. And it appears like nectar in the beginning, but then poison in the end. Prabhupada is saying sometimes a young man and woman they meet and they feel such fantasy of their relationship and to come and to enjoy each other. But then what happens after some time? It becomes a poison. Especially nowadays we see people they come fast and then they quickly separate also. So then there is a divorce, there is a lamentation, there is a sorrow. Such happiness is always in mode of passion. The happiness of interaction of the senses with the sense object. So it is always a cause of distress and should be avoided by all beings. So as before also, Krishna has multiple times. Actually, in the scriptures, you will find multiple time it is being expressed that this happiness which one gets by the interaction with the sense object is actually not happiness, it's actually suffering. Only on the surface it is happiness, but then below the surface actually it is suffering. But because of illusion and ignorance, we get so charmed by seeing the happiness on the surface that we are not able to understand the reality within. So in Gita, before also Krishna is saying, Yehi samisparja bhoga duk yeneva evate. That the moment you spurse, the moment you touch a sense object, it will give rise to misery. And there also Krishna is saying, duk yeneva evate. Krishna is not saying that soon you will get misery. Because in relation to sense object, initially in the beginning, you will have short-term happiness. But duk yeneva evate, in the yoni, in the womb, you have impregnated distress or misery, which eventually will come. So whenever we are enjoying any material happiness, we should remember that tomorrow I will suffer. And it is a fact. Recently, His Grace Paramatattva, he met with an accident and he is on bed now at his hometown. I was talking to him, Prabhuji is very sad to hear how this has happened. We were discussing that how prarabdha is prarabdha. While enjoying material things or while going away from the scriptures, a person does not think. But later on, when suffering comes, then that is overwhelming to tolerate it. And if practically when suffering comes, nowadays people are getting heart attack, people are getting n number of diseases. And even young ones are dying. So very difficult. Recently only our Dipesh Prabhu, his brother got a heart attack and he was admitted into the hospital, and then soon he got a brain stroke and he left his body. And his brother was only very young, only 30 years of age. So that is how this material happiness is. So it appears in the beginning, but then eventually it will bring misery. That is happiness in mode of passion. Srila Baldev Vidya Bhushan is saying that happiness which arises from relationship, some yoga of the senses such as eyes, skin, with a sense object such as youthful form or touch. So basically our 5 knowledge acquiring senses, when they interact with their sense object, that happiness is material happiness. So eyes, when they see some beautiful form, so they enjoy. When the ear, they hear some very fine music, they enjoy. When the tongue tastes some fine dish, then they enjoy. When the nose smells some very nice fragrance, it enjoys. Same way, the sense of touch. So when a male is touching a female body, then enjoys. So these interaction of the senses with the sense object, this happiness comes quickly. The moment there is interaction, the happiness will come. But then duk yeneva evate, it will give misery in the end. And this interaction, which is bringing quick happiness, will quickly disappear also. And most worst thing is that it is binding in nature. It will cause one to attain hell, is the happiness in mode of passion. And now Krishna will describe about the happiness in mode of ignorance. यद अग्रे चानुबंधे च सुखम मोहनम आत्मनः निद्रा आलस्य प्रमादोत्तम तत्तामसं उदाहृतम्. Yes, somebody can read.
That happiness which is blind to self-realization, which is delusion from beginning to end, and which arises from sleep, laziness, and delusion, is said to be of the nature of ignorance.
So he's saying that happiness which is blind to self-realization and which is delusion from beginning to end, which arises from sleep, laziness, and illusion, is said to be in the mode of ignorance. So one who takes pleasure in laziness and sleep is subtly in the mode of darkness. He has no idea how to act and how not to act, is in the mode of ignorance. For a person in mode of ignorance, everything is illusion. There is no happiness either in the beginning or at the end. For the person in mode of passion, there might be some kind of ephemeral happiness in the beginning and at the end distress. But for the person in the ignorance, there is only distress both in the beginning and later on in the end. So they take up to very simple habits, like they will go for drinking alcohol. There is no happiness in the beginning also. It is not giving them happiness. In illusion, they assume that there is happiness. And it gives suffering later also. Same with smoking. What happiness will one get by putting fire in the mouth? But then, because of illusion, they think that I'm happy and they are smoking. And later on, they'll have lungs problem and so and so. Then again, they have to suffer. So all the activities in the mode of ignorance are such that they, from beginning to the end, they give misery. Whereas in mode of passion, in the beginning happiness, later on misery. Whereas in mode of goodness, beginning misery, later on happiness. So that happiness, which from its inception, agre, from very beginning, and its in its maturity is an illusion for the self. As I said, drinking, smoking, all these kinds of nasty things like that. Covering the truth nature of things, mohanam atmanaham, and which arises from sleep, laziness, inattention, is happiness in the mode of ignorance. Alasya is lethargy, concerning the use of senses. Pramada means lack of attention to what should be done and what should not be done. So he has laziness to do anything, and he has no discrimination to see what to be done, what not to be done. Like that, we see that they suffer. So now, after this, describing Krishna in 40th verse, it speaks about the influence of three modes. न तदस्ति पृथ्वीव्यां वा द्वेषु वा पुनः सत्त्वं प्रकृतिजे मुक्तं यद्यपि स्यात् तद्भिन्ने. Somebody can read.
There is no being existing, either here or among the demigods, in the higher planetary systems, which is freed from these three modes born of material nature.
So see how much is the influence of three modes of material nature. Everyone in the material world, from the topmost planet to the lowermost planet, is being influenced by the three modes of material nature. Like this, Krishna is saying. So summarizing the meaning of this topic, the Lord includes here all other things that he did not mention. In this world, among man, in the heaven of Swarga, among the Devas, among all creatures in creation, from Brahma down to immoral entities, there is no living entity, Sattvam, and no object which is free from three gunas arising from Prakriti. Actually, everything in the three, in this whole material world is made of three modes of materiality. All the things are made of three gunas. Those in mode of goodness should be accepted because they alone are useful. And those things in the lower mode should be rejected. So like this, Krishna is concluding this section. Why Krishna so elaborately speaks about three modes and their influence in chapter 14, chapter 17, and chapter 18. To help us to understand that there is nothing which is not influenced by three modes of material nature. And things in mode of goodness is useful, we should accept. And things in other modes, mode of passion and ignorance, they are not useful, so we should do. So this completes our this section from text 18 to 40. and we'll continue from 41st verse in our next class next Monday. Hare Krishna. If anyone has any query, then they can ask.
हरे कृष्णा प्रभु जी।
Yes, Hare Krishna.
दंड प्रणाम प्रभु जी। प्रभु जी, एक क्वेश्चन था, जैसे कि जो 3 मोड्स में वो है हैप्पीनेस है, जो मोड ऑफ गुडनेस में है वो अभ्यास के कारण हैप्पीनेस आता है, जो मोड ऑफ पैशन में है वो सेंस और सेंस ऑब्जेक्ट के कांटेक्ट से हैप्पीनेस आता है, और इग्नोरेंस वाला तो हैप्पीनेस ही नहीं है, वो कुछ और ही है। लेकिन प्रभु जी, मेरा एक डाउट था प्रभु जी, जैसे कि हम कोई मटेरियल एक्टिविटी करते हैं, जैसे कि कोडिंग सीखते हैं, तो कोडिंग स्टार्टिंग में सीखना डिफिकल्ट है और उसको करने का मन भी नहीं करता हमें, लेकिन उसको कॉन्स्टेंटली प्रैक्टिस करते रहते हैं तो आ जाता है वो, और जो कोडिंग करते करते ही हैप्पीनेस आता है, मतलब अभी तो आया नहीं लेकिन स्टिल भी हैप्पीनेस आता है। तो प्रभु जी, क्या ये वाला जो हैप्पीनेस है मोड ऑफ गुडनेस में है प्रभु जी? क्योंकि इसमें सेंस और सेंस ऑब्जेक्ट का कांटेक्ट भी नहीं है प्रभु जी शायद।
नहीं, तो इसमें आपको स्टार्टिंग में कोडिंग नहीं आया और फिर आपको कोडिंग आ गए, और फिर 10 साल या 15 साल आप कोडिंग करते रहेंगे, उसके बाद क्या होगा?
उसके बाद फिर बोर हो जाएंगे मतलब।
हाँ, वो भी हैप्पीनेस इन मोड ऑफ पैशन।
ओके।
तो वो क्या होता है, जब कोई चीज आप जानते नहीं हो, जैसे कोई आप साइकिल चलाना सीख रहे हो, स्टार्टिंग में तो सीखे नहीं, फिर आप प्रैक्टिस करोगे, फिर सीख जाओगे तो थोड़ा हैप्पीनेस आएगा कि मैं सीख गया हूँ। उसके बाद में कुछ समय के बाद में स्टेगनेशन आ जाएगा कि क्या है, ये तो कुछ है नहीं।
अच्छा, ओके। यस प्रभु जी।
ठीक है।
यस प्रभु, यस, थैंक यू प्रभु जी।
यस, अमन यादव ग्रुप।
Hare Krishna Prabhu. I'm audible, Prabhuji.
Yes, yes, tell me.
Prabhuji, in the text number 18, the translation was that knowledge and the object of knowledge and the knower are 3 factors that motivate action.
Right.
So, Prabhuji, the meaning of knower is that the doer, but we learn 5 kinds of doer.
5 kinds of doer.
मतलब कि जो भी जो 5 प्रकार के रहते हैं ना प्रभु जी, किसी वर्क को डन करने का जो वो रहता है उसमें
हाँ,
सोल
तो
सुपर।
वो 5 प्रकार के डूअर नहीं है, 5 फैक्टर्स विच अफेक्ट द रिजल्ट ऑफ एक्शन.
ओके ओके।
So we are not the
Okay.
only doer. There
Yes.
are other parameters responsible.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
And yes, Prabhuji, one more question, Prabhuji, that in text 20 में, जब प्रभुजी 21 में जब ये बताते हैं कि नॉलेज के बारे में, तो इसमें थोड़ा सा डिफरेंस बताइएगा प्रभुजी, लाइक नॉलेज इन मोड ऑफ गुडनेस and not the transcendental that Krishna talks about 9.2 in 9.2.
Okay. See, it is simple. Mode of goodness can help you to come to 0 axis. ठीक है? Mode of passion,
Yes,
mode of ignorance, they are negative axis. So when Krishna is talking about knowledge in mode of goodness, so that knowledge will help you to understand that how everyone is a soul. ठीक है? अब इससे ऊपर जो है पॉजिटिव एक्सेस, वो है ट्रांसेंडेंटल नॉलेज. उसमें आप क्या देखोगे? एवरीवन इज अ सोल हु इज सर्वेंट ऑफ कृष्ण.
Okay.
That is different. So goodness means you can come to 0. Then beyond that is transcendental knowledge, where you have to include Krishna. So एक होता है आत्म साक्षात्कार, एक होता है भागवत साक्षात्कार. तो आत्म साक्षात्कार मतलब कि चीजों को सही देखना, तो वो गुडनेस से हो सकता है. जैसे कोई स्त्री है, जब वो छोटी सी लड़की होती है तो लड़कों के साथ भी खेलती है, लेकिन एक उम्र के बाद में उसको पता चल जाता है कि अरे मैं फीमेल हूँ एंड आई कांट प्ले विद बॉयज. तो जब उसको ये साक्षात्कार हो गया कि मैं फीमेल हूं, तो वो हो गया आत्म साक्षात्कार. लेकिन वहां पर एंड नहीं है. उसके बाद में उसके मन में क्या आएगा कि मेरा कोई स्वामी होना चाहिए, मेरा विवाह होना चाहिए। तो जब उनका विवाह हो जाता है वो है भागवत साक्षात्कार, उनको स्वामी मिल गए। तो वैसे ही जब हमें पता चल जाता है मैं आत्मा हूँ, वो है आत्म साक्षात्कार, और फिर मुझे स्वामी चाहिए और मुझे भगवान की प्राप्ति हो जाती है, वो है भागवत साक्षात्कार। आया समझ लो।
यस प्रभु जी, एक फॉलोअप प्रश्न था, लाइक अथा तो ब्रह्म जिज्ञासा, तो अहम ब्रह्मास्मि, और तो ऐसा ये जो स्टेटमेंट है मीन्स, और जो भी योगिक प्रोसेसेस हैं, तो ये सब क्या मोड्स ऑफ मटेरियल नेचर के अंडर में आएंगे?
नहीं, था तो ब्रह्म जिज्ञासा तो आध्यात्मिक इंक्वायरी के बारे में बताया गया है ना, उसमें तो कुछ गलत नहीं है।
जैसे
हम
जैसे आई
ब्रह्मास्मि
एम
वगैरह। हाँ बोलो।
आई एम स्पिरिट सोल, इट विल कम अंडर द मोड्स ऑफ मटेरियल नेचर।
नहीं, इसमें क्या है, देखिए गुडनेस का जो ज्ञान है उसमें मैं आत्मा हूँ, ये ज्ञान जो है वो गुडनेस में है। लेकिन यही ज्ञान अगर हम आध्यात्मिक तरीके से लेते हैं कि मैं भगवान का नित्य पार्षद हूँ और भगवान का सेवक हूँ, तो आध्यात्मिक ज्ञान हो गया। जैसे आप हिमालय में जाएंगे तो कुछ लोग मेडिटेशन करते हैं, आप उनसे पूछिए क्यों मेडिटेशन करते हैं, किस पे मेडिटेशन कर रहे हैं, तो बोलते हैं मैं सेल्फ पे मेडिटेशन कर रहा हूँ। तो ये गुडनेस है। ठीक है।
यस प्रभु जी, एक प्रश्न और था प्रभु जी।
हम्म।
ये जो टेक्स्ट 31 में बताया गया प्रभु जी की प्रायोरिटी क्लियर नहीं रहती है,
यस।
और ये व्यक्ति अपने सेंस ग्रेटिफिकेशन के लिए वर्क करता है, तो हम
यस।
लोगों को वो जो सर्विसेज आती हैं प्रभु जी, उसमें भी कभी कभी प्रायोरिटीज क्लियर नहीं रहती हैं। बट ऐसा इंटेंशन नहीं रहता कि मैं कोई भी सर्विस अपने सेंस ग्रेटिफिकेशन के लिए कर रहा हूँ, तो ये किस मोड में रहेगा प्रभु जी?
नहीं, तो हम अपना प्रायोरिटी क्लियर कर सकते हैं। वी कैन चेक विद आवर सुपीरियर कि व्हाट आर द प्रायोरिटीज ऑफ सर्विस, देन वी कैन हैव दैट क्लैरिटी।
यस प्रभु जी, एक एक लास्ट था कि प्रभु जी जैसे कई सारे वर्सेस हैं भागवत गीता में, तो उसमें क्या है कि सेम सेम जो इंटेंशन है, बट प्रायोरिटी दूसरे श्लोक को दिया जाता है। जैसे कि अगर मैं कोट करूं कि ये यथा माम प्रपद्यन्ते ताम तथैव भजामि, और एक दूसरा श्लोक का है समोहम सर्वभूतेषु नामे द्वेषोस्ति ना प्रिया। तो अभी इसमें प्रायोरिटी किस श्लोका को देते हैं, मतलब किस बेसिस पे देते हैं कि जैसे कि जब उनका कन्वर्सेशन चल रहा था श्री चैतन्य महाप्रभु और रामानंद राय का, तो उसमें, और कभी कभी माधुर कादम्बनी भी पढ़ते हैं तो उसमें भी रेफरेंस आता है कि वट कृष्णा ये कहते हैं कि मतलब भक्ति इंडिपेंडेंट है, भक्ति इन पे नहीं डिपेंड करती, मैं तो समो हम सर्वभूतेषु हूँ, तो मैं किसी को कैसे भक्ति दूं। तो यही थोड़ा सा मेरे को समझ में नहीं आता कि कौन सा श्लोक को प्रायोरिटी दे रहे हैं, किस बेसिस पे दे रहे हैं।
नहीं, तो उसमें क्या है, हर जगह कुछ कंटेक्स्ट होता है, उस कंटेक्स्ट के बेसिस पे जो है प्रायोरिटी दी जाती है। जैसे रामानंद राय चैतन्य महाप्रभु का संवाद है, तो उसमें कंटेक्स्ट क्या है, जो टॉप मोस्ट प्योर डिवोशन सर्विस है उसको हाईलाइट करना। तो इसलिए जो है बाकी चीज जो है उनको वो एहो बाह्य ऐसा करके जो है टॉप मोस्ट पे लेके जाते हैं। बहुत कॉन्फिडेंशियल जो टॉपिक है उनके बारे में वो चर्चा करना चाह रहे हैं। तो कंटेक्स्ट क्या है, कन्वर्सेशन का कंटेक्स्ट किस लिए हो रहा है, उसके हिसाब से जो है वो टॉक की जाती है। ठीक है।
थैंक यू प्रभु जी।
ओके।
Hare
थैंक
Krishna,
यू वेरी।
Prabhuji.
हाँ, हरे कृष्णा।
Prabhuji, when you were mentioning about the pleasure in the mode of goodness, then you were mentioning this analogies like medicine. So it seemed like it is not the pleasure of goodness, it's the pleasure of it's transcendental pleasure only, because you were mentioning that that medicine will always seem bitter. So then, if we are describing in this way, then what is the difference between the transcendental happiness and the happiness of mode of goodness?
See, mode of goodness is a platform where you can have access to transcendental happiness. तो mode of goodness is very closely connected to शुद्ध सत्व। जैसे प्रभुपाद जी क्या बोलते हैं, ब्राह्मणा, if somebody is a true brahmana he should be a Vaishnava also। So mode of goodness in that way is very closely connected to transcendental happiness. But अगर आप सिर्फ मोड ऑफ गुडनेस का ही हैप्पीनेस देखना चाहते हो, तो क्या है, जब नेगेटिव एक्सेस से आप 0 0 की एक्सेस पे आते हो तो उसका भी एक हैप्पीनेस है। लेकिन रियल हैप्पीनेस कब मिलेगा, आप जब आप 0 0 से ऊपर जाओ। तो अगर कोई गुडनेस में आता है तो बाय डिफॉल्ट ही विल टेक अप टू स्पिरिचुअल लाइफ आल्सो। अदरवाइज वो गुडनेस में भी नहीं रह पाएगा, गुडनेस से वापस नीचे चला जाएगा। ऐसा। ठीक है ना?
I could not understand, Puji. Then what will be the mode of happiness in the mode of goodness? If this is the transcendental only, then what is the happiness of mode of goodness?
अगर आपको सिर्फ मोड ऑफ गुडनेस का हैप्पीनेस देखना है तो वो जो 0 0 एक्सेस पे जो हैप्पीनेस मिलेगा वो मोड ऑफ गुडनेस का happiness।
No, that we got understood
हाँ।
theoretically. If an example,
एग्जाम्पल ऐसा, सी क्या है, ऐसा मोड ऑफ गुडनेस नहीं है कि कोई मोड ऑफ गुडनेस पे रहेगा तो उसको जो है प्योर मोड ऑफ गुडनेस पे रहेगा और उसका वो हैप्पीनेस एक्सपीरियंस कर पाएगा, क्योंकि वो स्टेबल नहीं है। तो अगर या तो जैसे ही प्योर मोड ऑफ गुडनेस पे आएगा तो भक्ति की सहायता से ही आएगा और उसको भक्ति लेना पड़ेगा, वरना वो मोड ऑफ गुडनेस के साथ में उसके अंदर में मोड ऑफ पैशन और मोड ऑफ इग्नोरेंस का टिंट रहेगा। तो जो शुद्ध सत्व है उसको क्या बोलते हैं आप बताओ? शुद्ध सत्व क्या होता है? प्योर गुडनेस। तो जो आप चाह रहे हैं कि प्योर मोड ऑफ गुडनेस में क्या हैप्पीनेस होगी, तो प्योर मोड ऑफ गुडनेस तो ट्रांसेंडेंटल मोड ही होगा। बाकी जो मोड होते हैं उसमें तो पैशन और रजोगुण का क्या होता है, मिश्रण होता है। ऐसा।
thank you.
थैंक यू।